Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is where we talk to the sexiest clowns and comedians from across the comedy world. They have the charm, the tenacity to charm frogs and to make you astounded and fall in love with them. Now, today's guest is an absolute wonder. She is like Orion's belt in terms of her amazement that she'll bring you. She will make you want to go to the stars and an adventure like Star Trek. She is a lady that will shock you like an electric shock from someone that needs to be woken up again. She is a name that you are gonna love. She has a tremendous background. And she is a lady who is a dynamo in the clowning world. You're gonna love her like fish and chips, like a chicken curry with naan bread. Please welcome Michelle Matlock.
Hello, hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me. What a fantastic introduction. My goodness, spectacular.
It was poetic, wasn't it? It was almost like I was writing a poem for you, Michelle.
I mean, the stars and fish and chips and curry. I mean, and sexy all together. Wow.
You're all of those things, Michelle.
I love that.
Now,
Great to be here. Thanks for having
thanks for coming on the podcast. Like, for anyone that's like listening here now and they're like, oh my God, who is this fantastic Michelle Matlock? How did she become a clown? And what made her become a clown?
me. Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's good. What made me become a clown? I yeah, I years ago, I mean, we're talking over 25 years ago, a friend of mine that I went to college with was convinced that we were clowns. We were both in the theater world and actors, but she had this, crazy idea that we were clowns. So and that we needed to make a clown show. So we were rehearsing this little clown show. We had no idea what we were doing. We were in the middle of Washington Square Park in New York City rehearsing because we couldn't afford rehearsal space at the time. We were, struggling artists, and we were teaching ourselves how to juggle and doing stupid little tricks and trying to clown with each other. And this person came up to us and basically thought what we were doing was interesting and maybe even funny, and invited us to be a part of this program that was a cruise ship program. It was a new program. Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines here in the United States had hired a bunch of ex-Ringling Brothers clowns to develop a clown program on their ships. And so while we had no clowning experience, we were both women, so they needed more women in the program. So just off of what they had seen us do, they invited us to come down to Miami and train. This is my first introduction to real clown training, and it was the ex-Ringling clowns that trained us. So for this program on ships, we had to learn how to walk on stilts, how to juggle, how to do classic gags like the pie gag, the banana gag, and just how to get into makeup. And it was all that Ringling Brothers style clowning. And so, yeah, we jumped on board and we had training. We were on ships for about a year doing that work and learning about that type of clowning. And when we got back to New York, we were saying, wow, we got to do that. And we got to learn and train about clowning, and we got to get paid for
Whoa.
clowning. Now, if we were paid, we are fully paid. It was a good pay. So when we got back to New York, we were like, what more is this clowning have to offer? Like, being actors, we weren't getting paid anything. So we
Uh,
started searching for things that we could do as clowns and all the new skills that we had just attained, and where could we use that and how could we make a living doing it. And we started doing that. And we got a lot of gigs together as a duo, and we would do a lot of birthday parties and bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. And then we also, auditioned for Big Apple Circus Clown Care, which we got work through that. And then I also worked with Circus and Muck as a clown, which was an outdoor circus run by Jennifer Miller. in New York for many, many years. It's still going on. I did about 8 seasons, and Bindlestiff Family Circus. And then, yeah, that's how it began with me. I didn't know, I didn't seek it out. It sort of happened organically. I fell in love with the craft and the art, and I fell in love with the circus and just all the different characters that I was being introduced to, and this new skill that I was learning that could accompany me as an actor. I think clowning made me a better actor,
Mm.
and it just offered a wider opportunity for entertainment and for working in the industry. And I know that's rare. You know, a lot of clowns will complain about like that there's low pay or no pay, but my experience has been that clowning versus acting, I get paid as a clown. No one has ever asked me to clown for exposure. And
That's true.
yeah. So that's how I got pulled into it. And after that, pretty intense training with Ringling, I got to work with and learn from a lot of other experts in clowning down the road, and just sort of be able to take in all the different perspectives, and eventually just begin to make it my own, and discover who my clown is on my own too.
Okay, you've made some interesting points there, and I have to extrapolate it. Now, as a as
Yes.
a as a so to someone that's listening here now, and they're like, listen, what is a clown? Because I hear so many people say so many different definitions, but what is your definition of clowning? And what would you say your clown is, and how did you find your clown?
Huh. That is a really good question. What is clown? Well, the best answer to that I have is that clown is action, right? Clown is a verb. Clown is doing. Um, what is my clown? I That is a good question. I don't know that I have a definition of my clown. My clown is, I attempt to show up and be present, and to be in service to the audience that I'm in front of. And what I've learned is that it's less about me and more about the audience and what they want. And I know what they want by their response to me. And usually what we desire is laughter. So I know I'm close to clowning when I get laughter. But it might not happen.
Hmm.
So I have to be I have to be responsive to that, and acknowledgement, presence. Um yeah. And I think it's also, my clown is my clown is dumber than I thought that my clown would be. That was revealed to me early on. And what was the last question? I forgot. Or another question?
No, you answered those two questions, but I do have something I want to add to that. So
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few clowns on the podcast, and they say, like Mark Gidding, I think, says that his clown is something is like he thinks he's a ladies' man or something. And I remember
Uh
or like Benny Hill, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think my clown is that I often think that I'm smarter than what I am on stage, and I do daft things, and I do yeah I just that's I think that's my clown. I think that I'm a lot smarter than I am, and they often fall into some incredibly stupid situations.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I don't know that I have a definition like that for my clown. I do know that when it shows up, it's usually, um, I think I'm doing one thing and it turns out to be the other thing, or I'm doing the thing wrong, or I'm messing up things. I think that I'm definitely a low status clown, or at least a middle status clown. And yeah, I don't know that I have a specific definition, um,
But
like Mark Ginn, or
okay,
you might have. I don't know.
is it? So would that be the Auguste clown? I know that there's different definitions. You've got the white face, you've got the tramp, and you've got the Auguste clown. And what we said there, is that the Auguste clown that you've described?
I think traditionally, but I think there's something that you should know about me. It's like being an African American clown in the United States is sort of a different journey.
Oh,
I believe is because clowning is in the African American community. It traditionally has been known as sort of a negative thing because as a whole, it's deep, but like just as a whole, that's the only position that we were put in for so many years was that of clown. And it stems out of minstrelsy here in the United States, where, folks would get into blackface and imitate um, African Americans. Very, very offensive type of entertainment that lasted for a very long time in the United States. And then if you were African American and you wanted to be an entertainer of that time, we were forced to get into blackface ourselves and then portray like white people imitating us, right? So there's a stigma in the African American community here with clowning. So my journey in clowning has been sort of peppered with this in the back of my head, and it's only recently that I've sort of gone like, okay, I'm done with like hiding behind or hiding away from this history. I'd like to deconstruct and like not have it be such a burden and have it be more welcoming to people of color. Here in the United States, we don't have a lot of people of color to that are clowning or that are interested in clowning. I mean, more now than ever. But really, I got introduced to this idea of deconstructing the clown world through John Davison, who's there in London. I don't know if you've interviewed him or know him. Um,
I know him, but I haven't
yeah,
interviewed him yet. I want to interview him.
yeah. So I got introduced to him over the pandemic, and then he became a bit of a mentor because he's the only one over the pandemic that was talking about decolonizing clowning.
Uh-huh.
And so I've since he's come here, he's worked with me with my solo show, and we've talked a lot about this. So so I just want to make clear that I think it's important to know all that history of Whiteface Clown and August and and the hobo clown and the tramp. But I'm sort of just in the frame of mind of deconstructing all of that because that's a very Eurocentric way of
Oh,
looking at clown, when clown goes way, way back to before that, Native Americans, Latin Americans, Africans that were clowning, right? So um, I just want to bring that to the forefront in this conversation because that's where I am in my journey, is that I'm deconstructing these things and learning more about um, where Europeans got all these things. So
hmm.
so um so yeah. So I do work with status, and I do a lot more teaching now than I do performing, but I do work with status, and I usually frame it as you know, one, two, and three, which would be whiteface, a goose, and tramp, clown, which I define as like eccentric kind of, or character clown, eccentric. And how I define it, especially with my students now, is I deconstruct the whole thing so that it's more inviting and inclusive to everyone that wants to come to clowning. Is like, one, the top banana has um, has the plan. Two, messes up the plan.
Oh,
Three three is like in their own world, has their own plan. Um, and so that's how currently I'm looking at these like status and different types of clown. Um, and it's just a process. It's a process that's where I am right now with all the traditional, like just trying to deconstruct and decolonize the traditions.
hmm. Ah, okay, okay. And then you can build, you want to know what's behind the, yeah, you're being like a mechanic in that you're trying to find out what's behind those things that work so you can build it yourself. Or you,
Yeah, well, also where does it come from? Right now I believe that clowning is so white, heterosexual, male driven. And that isn't inviting for everyone, right? Like that isn't inclusive to everyone. And sometimes it's actually this exclusive group of people that have this definition of clown, and it doesn't welcome, it's not welcoming. I've been in so many rooms over the past 20 years where I'm the only person of color in the room that's clowning, and it's mostly white male cis men that are running it, and they have this, way that this is clown, as if it's the only thing. And I, like it's been sort of a little bit of a harsh journey, but now that I have, sort of leaned into what clown is and what it can be and what it's come from. It's African origins, it's Asian origins, it's Native American origins, Latin American origins that preceded the Eurocentric, you know, way of clowning right now. It's more inspiring and it's more inclusive. I find that,
oh,
when it's more inviting, it's like it's not as restraining. It's not of like this is the definition of clown and that's all that is this Eurocentric view. So yeah, so I'm just open to more ways that it can be inclusive and that there's not just one definition of the way that someone can get to clown.
yeah. No, I agree with, yeah, I like that. I mean, what you've just put my picture in my head of like when you're in a university lecture and you want to get your own understanding of something, you break it. Well, if you want to be like a PhD or an expert in something, you've got to build your own way of doing it. And that's what, like,
Right.
you've got, rather than just do adopt lazy thinking of what's gone on before. Like, what's your own thoughts in it? And you're going deeper into it so you can form your own, yeah, it's rather than just taking what's been said to you, you want your own sort of way of doing it. And if you take lazy form of thinking, you don't get your own opinions, you don't get your understanding. And could it also, if you don't really study something and build your own understanding of it, could it also affect how good you become at the art form? Because you don't understand the fundamentals behind it. You're doing it, but you don't know what's behind, further behind it.
Right. Right. Exactly. And also coming from a culture that um finds clowning in general offensive because of a history in this country. I want to find ways that to break through that offensiveness and get behind it, of like to own it, to reclaim it, so that it's not so offensive and feeling so bad, you know, and that so that it's inviting to more, especially African American performers and entertainers, that like this is, before all of our horrible history in this country, clown was a part of, a lot of native cultures, including African cultures. There was clowns were looked at as a high status in the community that could call out different things that no one else could, much like clowns can do now, or
Hmm.
comedians, right? Like make fun of the way that we are, hold up a mirror to
Yeah,
us as a society, can do things wrong, can, use things wrong. So it's really about wanting to see more diversity in the clown world.
yeah. What you said so many things there. Like, there's, I've got 3 points to make in that, and I want to hear what you say in it. Have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Do you, what have you in the first season? there was a speech between Tyrion and Jon Snow, and he says to him, he kept on calling him bastard, and he said, "Never forget what you are, because the rest of the world won't, and wear it as a sheet of armor." And then there's a
Mm.
interview that I saw with Joe Rogan and what's his name? How could I forget him? He's one of my favorite directors. Gary, he's an English guy. He's a black belt in judo. What's his name? Not Gary. Gary. I'll give me 1 second. Master of Your Own Kingdom. What's his name? Guy Ritchie. That's his name. Guy Ritchie. He says you got to be the master of your own kingdom. He says that he puts on the suit because he chooses to put on. Like he puts on, like the world will try and tell you are, but then you've got to try and tell yourself who you are. He says, where do you want to put your eggs? In the world or in you? And he says, you obviously want. There's got to be some balance between the two, but at the end of the day, you've got to be happy with what you are, and you define what you are. You be happy with what you are rather than the world. And I don't know. These two things have really stuck to me. I've not been good at doing them, but I think what you said there reminds me so much of what they've said.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's yeah, I think that that's so true. It's like, it's been such a since let's say 2020, I feel like with sort of getting these ideas and finding John Davison and connecting to more clowns of color who are interested, because I think I was the first of a many things in terms of clowning in this country. Define being able to define it and then be an example of that for others is really, really important for me in this work.
No. One of the things that I found in comedy, I was having a chat with a few comedians, is a lot stand-up comedy is, yeah, I'd say it's about 70% white men. That's what it is. But there is a bit of a mix, and we've spoken about how, yeah, it definitely helps if you're a girl or if you're a minority group. It definitely helps because there's so much of the same sort of thing comedy, and we want something that had a bit of variety, and it does. Whenever I'm booking a comedy show, I like to have a bit of variety to the lineup. It adds something to it. But on the flip side of that, if you're the only one in a certain place, God, you must have faced a lot of. In some ways, it gave you an advantage because you're not like every other clown or performer. But bloody hell, you must have had a lot of walls that you had to hammer down. Like, like what Harvey Specter said. You had a lot of. Have you seen Suits? He says, "Listen here, Mike Ross. If someone holds a gun to your head, you call their bluff, or you call that. You don't do what they say." But I'll never take that advice. But I'm guessing in some ways you've had I knew you not had that literally, but you must have had that sort of situation in the clowning world, being the only non-white person in the thing.
Yeah, sure. And absolutely. Like I just, I've had difficult moments and uncomfortable moments and not knowing what the hell's going on moments, and having to fight for, how I operate, how I clown. Um sure, sure, and just up against that, that wall of, this is what clowning is, and this is it, this is how we see it, and maybe even being called, like, sort of being ostracized and like, you're not a clown or you're not good at what we do or whatever, um and then just fighting for to be seen, um even when I've been in a gig, even when I, like, with Cirque du Soleil, like, even being in that trio where I was with two, French clowns, and just them have, eventually having to, like, earn the respect of those clowns in the way that I do, in the way that I know that I'm funny or can make gags or can or relate to people that's different, so different than the way that they do. And it wasn't really until we're in front of an audience that anyone can know that,
Hmm.
because it might be so unfamiliar to them that, you know, some things, not everything. Sometimes we're just relating and having fun, but but yeah, and then just like, I tend to be a person that I believe that, like, you know, you essentially know, we all know what clowning is, right? Like no one has to
Shit, well.
sort of tell us that. Like, what's
So,
that?
so someone I'm living in said bye, so I said bye back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like we know what it is to make our siblings laugh, or we know what it is to make our grandmothers laugh. You know, we know, if especially if you're class coming from being a class clown all of our lives, or like wanting to make people laugh all of our life, we know what that is, right? It's just about bringing that to the forefront, and that might be different in my culture rather than in your culture or someone else's culture, right? Like we have to be open to how people, you know, laugh and how much they laugh. Like it's different. I'll never be forget being in Mexico City and playing to like 7,000 Mexican people, and the way they laughed is so different than being, you know, in another part of the country. You know, like what they laughed at and how they laughed, and how, you know, their humor was slightly different than other cultures in the world. So, you know, I forgot where I was going. What am I talking about? What are we talking about?
I've forgotten as well. I don't
I'm
know.
just rambling on about it.
What were we talking about? No, we were talking about the challenges
Oh,
faced
you
being
asked me
different.
the difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
you asked me about the difficulty of being like the only one for so many years, and you know, like how difficult that was. And I have to say, it was difficult, and I was resistant to it because I was like, why am I being put in this? You know, why am I being dragged into the situation? There's no one else like me here, and you know, being judged and this criteria and whatnot. And then learning about it and all that. But yeah, but I'm just happy to say that I see now that there's a reason why I went through that. And um, you know, I fall in love with the art form, and I've fallen in love with attracting new folks to the skill, and being able to teach, um, you know, in a different way. And that's the biggest feedback I get back as a teacher, is that it's the hundreds of students. I'm the first person of color ever in their life to be teaching them clown or any other
Oh,
performance.
but yeah, no, I think what you said there about there not being not enough variety in clowning. Mark Gidding mentioned it as well, and I think it's still in stand up it's getting better, but in yeah, even in the do you know what the Gaulier clown, the that sort of clown, there's still mostly white people, and there's not enough sort of variety in it. There's a lot of white people doing clowning in Gaulier, but there isn't much. It's especially in Edinburgh. It's mostly all white middle class, but yeah, variety is good. I think we need that, and I think one thing I've noticed. I'm definitely an outsider. I'm outside in the clown world. I'm an outsider in the comedian world, and comedians outsiders to regular folk. And I think I don't know. I think being an outsider, being a bit different, one, I think it builds your character in a way you're more interested than the average Joe. You're not boring. That's one thing I'd say.
Right.
But fucking hell, you stand out and you will get picked on and you will get people that will talk about you. And you're not, you got things to talk about, you got stories to tell, but you stand out and it's not, I don't think being different, do you choose to be different? It's just something you just have to accept and embrace it and love it. Otherwise it'll destroy you. But I don't think, would many people choose to be different if they could?
Well,
To be an
yeah.
outsider.
I mean, the older you get, the more valuable you know that it is, and the more you can lean into it. I mean, when you're young, you just want to fit in, right? You want to fit in. So a lot of times, young folks are trying to, you know, just fit in and be like this and be like that. But the older you get, you realize that eventually you just have to give in to who you are, and being different is actually a bonus. Um, and so, you know, it just depends where you are, I guess, in your journey.
Ha 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 ha.
Uh, the answer to that is where, depends on where you are in your journey. And then where I am in my journey right now is like, yeah, I am who I am. I do what I do, and I've discovered some things that are definitely different. I lean into being different, and then also I just enjoy seeing, like in the comedy, stand-up comedy world. I enjoy in the clowning world to see so many uh, uh, entertainers or performers of color coming to this world and wanting to learn more about it and feeling safer because you see more clowns of color in it.
Hmm. What I don't know what it is, but when I talk to people outside of the world of clowning, I mentioned that I've done a clowning course or something. They're always thinking across to the clown, and they're always saying, "We always knew you were a clown, but it's fine." But no, what about yourself? Like when you talk to people you know, or someone like people that you grew up with, and you say you're a clown, do they say, "Listen here, sweetheart, are you taking the piss? You're a clown." Go on then, make me laugh. Do something daft. Are you Come on, sweetheart. You got to do something. Like what? Sure, are you pulling my leg? Are you not a singer or something?
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, one thing, for when I say I'm a clown, my people that I grew up with and stuff. I mean, like in high school, I was voted class clown.
Oh,
So yeah, I was always making people laugh, and like that was my thing. And so they associate it with making them laugh, right? But I also get that thing of like, oh, can you come to my daughter's birthday and clown, make some balloons and paint some faces, right? Here, there's that stigma that's with clown, and I'm like, I don't really paint faces or make balloon animals. And so that association also, that clowns are for kids. I'm not sure how that happened. Well, I kind of know the history behind that in the States, how that happened. But I find that unless outside of the States, there's not that stigma that clowns are for kids. The clowns are an adult entertainment also that is respected. Um, but but yeah, so I get those. I do get that kind of reaction from people.
Uh, do you sort of flip the joke in them or something as well? Like if someone says, "Oh, you're a comedian, tell us a joke," I'll say, "Yeah, I'm looking at you," or something. I'll try and say, "Do you pay me or something?" Like I try and flip the term. Do you have a like? Because when you mention your clown or comedian, the people asking the questions, they think they're being unique, funny, original. But you hear the same questions again and again, and it's like, for
Right.
God's sake, please give me something original answer. I don't want to repeat it. Do you get that as a clown? People ask the same questions again and again, and they think they're being original. No, you're not. You're being boring.
A little bit. I do get that a little bit. I love the answer of like, I only get paid to clown. Like that's I haven't really got the right answer or response to those type of things. Uh, but yeah, I get that every now and again for sure.
Yeah. Now, with the world of clowning, and we mentioned it before about it being challenging, but also being different, having an advantage. What advantage does it give you to clowning? What advantage does it give you? And like how we mentioned already about what unique approach it gives you, but like what advantage do you think you have with the background, and how has that shaped your approach to clowning that gives you a distinct advantage?
Yeah, I think that um I think just kind of what we were talking about, just being unique, that there's no one that like me. That a lot of times when I'm in front of an audience, I'm the one that stands out because I look the way that I do. And I think that just you know, being who I am, I get away with some things that other folks. I mean, I think we all get away with individual things that others don't, right? Like, I think I can get away with different things than others can. And other things that I do will be found funny that might not be found funny from others. And then right now, I mean, I think we're just in a time, especially here in the United States, where I feel like I'm being seen for the first time, just and accepted and invited to the table. Um, I think some doors have just been kicked open, you know, and I think it's a unique time in the history of circus and clown right now. And my background sort of gives me that advantage to step up to the moment.
Hmm. Ah, and what have been the maddest moments you've had in clown that have taught you the most about clowning? And what has been a mad moment you've had in your life that's taught you a lot about clowning? I'll say something recently that I've figured out about myself. My biggest mistake at the moment, and you've probably figured it out in a podcast, but one of my biggest things is I'm a bit too much of a people pleaser, and I need to get used to being okay. I don't go in with bad intent or something, but it's okay in some instances to do things that if you feel right, and you have to sometimes do things that you feel right that may be perceived. What's the yeah? You got to do what's right for you at the end of the day, and I'm someone that struggles to do that, and that's something that I've learned recently from my times being in like theatre courses in Italy, clown courses in France. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've had a lot of moments of discovery around it. And I think the biggest things that stick out to me is, you know, I was conditioned and trained as an actor to get it right, to always get it right. You know, the thing with the actor, I think, is that we don't have that acknowledgement of when something goes wrong. And also there's not that gold on the other side. So my biggest lessons in clowning have been to lean into getting it wrong when the thing that you plan doesn't happen is actually clown gold, and to actually acknowledge it and go and do it, you know, like and to go with it, go with that mistake and look for, you know, more mistakes, look for more wrongdoing, doing it wrong or using something wrong. um that's those have been the biggest lessons to me. Like the biggest lessons have happened when the thing that I planned is not the thing that happened, and it actually was 10 times funnier than what I had
Yes, I know that too often.
planned.
It's, why does that happen so much though? Like we always have these ideas that we believe are going to work, but then we go, we spend hours perfecting it, doing this and that, and then when we go on stage, we fuck up. We do not fuck up. We screw up, and we find some golden magic that is a billion times better than what we planned.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, I think, you know, as the perspective of the audience is that that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to mirror imperfection, and it's funny. We can laugh at it, right? Like, um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I was just in a class with a group the other day and trying to figure out why certain things that had happened were funny that weren't planned. Why did we laugh at that? Because it's a reflection of us and our imperfections when we live in such a world that demands us to be so you know, perfect. Clowns are allowed to be imperfect and to point out our imperfections. We are able to it's all about the audience, right? Like yeah, I don't know. I don't know the complete answer besides the fact that as an audience member, we enjoy seeing that as a collective.
And that is the thing that I think comedy and maybe clowning have over yeah, like in some respects acting, because you're more connected with the audience. You get to see you get the spontaneity with the audience. That is just magic. I love that more than anything else as a comedian and clown.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. And that's the reason why I like to mess with theater, you know, theater and clowning. I love taking the acting skills and blending it with clowning because I can drop the fourth wall. Whereas with a lot of theater and acting and you're in a scene, you can't drop the fourth wall, you know. And so that's the biggest thing that I love about clowning, is that the fourth wall is not there, and you get to interact directly with the audience and be in connection with them, be in a conversation almost with them. It's like the audience is a partner in whatever is happening, and I love that.
Yeah. It's a dance, isn't it?
Dance, the brilliant dance.
Now, this is a question that I think is a little bit dodgy and a little bit, I think, so that it goes across all performing art forms, or maybe, yeah, I think this is, you know what, this is for everything. This is something bef before, with the wrong people in my life, I'll probably be quite brutal in getting them out of the way and getting with things. Now, I'm a lot more polite about it. I will just be like, listen, you ain't good for me. You do well on your table and I'll do well on my table, sort of thing. That's my sort of approach. I'll be polite. I'll keep you at distance, and I'll just keep you over there. But for yourself, what's your sort of thing for getting the right people into your life as a performer, getting better and going forward in life? And what is your way of dealing with people that ain't good for you and a little bit dodgy or not? Yeah. How how do you what's your way of handling the wrong people in your life and removing them and getting the right people in your life? That's
Wow, what a question. Yeah, yeah. Like setting boundaries. And yeah, I have to surround myself with people, and I have to surround myself with people who are smarter than me, who are doing what I want to do. And I try to fill my schedule with those people. So when the people that are not good for me come around or trying to, take my time, I it's not my schedule. Schedule's booked. Sorry. I don't have time. And literally, I've done that a lot in the past couple of years. Is just literally, I literally say, I'm so booked, can't do it right now. So
ah,
booked, I can't do it right now.
oh, I see.
My
Thank,
schedule's booked.
thanks for coming on the podcast. But yeah, so it's yeah, you're just you find a polite way of not answering their request effectively.
Right. I basically am like, I got this project and this project. I'm so sorry, I just don't have the time right now. Maybe later down the line.
Ah, okay.
And then also, like, I want to bring people with me, because a lot of times those people are people that have maybe been in your lives for a long, long time, and you have to let go of them in order to grow. But I also invite them to come and do things. If they're willing to come and do and surround themselves with the people that I want to, or the things that I want to surround them with, come on with it. But if they're not, I'm like, that's where I'm gonna be. If you wanna be around me, that's where I'm gonna be.
Hmm. And for any young clown or comedian that's looking in here now, what would be your advice for, yeah, we mentioned this before, like finding your own voice, being comfortable in your own skin, but what is your advice for performers being comfortable in their own skin as a performer, but also as an individual and not be too affected by the noise in the of others?
Um, there's several things. But one, I remember you put that question, what is it like being novice in clowning? And I think it's scary. It's scary. And so face face your fears. Face your fears. And I'm not talking about like survival fears of like you need to run to save your life. I'll talk about that fear, that thing. If something comes up, there's that butterflies or fear that's like a compass for us, that's telling us to do it. So just do it. Face your fear and do that thing that you're afraid to do. So on the other side of that is growth. Other things that I say is like, get a plan. I know this is like probably, mundane thing to say, but have a plan, create a plan. Your plan can change, but write it down. Write down the plan, write down what you want, write down your dreams, your hopes, your goals, write down how you're going to get there or how you think you're going to get there, and then follow the plan until it changes. Having a plan is key. And then have fun. Don't forget to have fun along the way.
Make it like a Indiana Jones adventure.
Yes. It's an adventure and it's an experiment. Like say that too. It's an experiment. Treat it as an experiment. You get to see what's going to happen. If it works or it doesn't work. And if it works, hooray, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, find another way. Don't give up. Find a different way. If it doesn't work, it's telling you that that's not the way. So you got to keep trying another way. It's all an experiment.
Now, for anyone that's listening right now or watching a video now, how do they find out about you? Like, what is your address? What is what is your yeah, what's your address?
My address. Well, you can find me on all the socials, mostly what my Instagram and Facebook at Michelle N as in Nicole Matlock, Michelle N Matlock. Also MichelleNicoleMatlock.com. You can go on my website. I try to keep it updated, but there's also a little mailing list that you can get on to see where I'm at. I send out emails maybe 4 times a year. But yeah, follow me. I'll follow you back. I'll follow you right back.
Yeah, so don't mess with us. Baby reindeer, don't mess with her. No. But yeah, you know where to find out about Michelle. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I think the next episode, no, I think next episode we're going to go on a little bit of a venture. I think I'm going to go more into the TV direction, like radio, sketches, and I think
Right.
I'm going to get a comedian from Indonesia. Don't know fully yet, but that's where it's looking like going. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I will see you guys soon. Just make sure you give the podcast review a 5-star review on Amazon or iTunes. And that'll be it. I hope you guys remembered all those things I've said. I made it very wordy, but I'll see you soon, guys.